Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile, Scala, with another exciting adventure of Crowdfunding Comics, episode 112, with the talented, the man, the myth, typically the teen sensation, Mr. Billy Tucci. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy. I took out the bug out bag, Billy, and I forgot to fix it because I wanted to get here on time, and I was all excited to have one of my comic book heroes on, and someone we were all jazzed about, someone we pursued. It might have been a little weird too, right?
Well, what are you going to do? That's social media for you.
That's social media for you. So doing great, staying inside as we were talking to our guest that my life pretty much hasn't changed that much. Spent a couple hours today shopping for the in-laws, went to the post office. But aside from that, I'm kind of sitting in this chair.
I feel you, man. I'm here, living in the studio, doing multiple projects and work and everything. I kind of like this shit though, a little bit, I just like, I'm a homebody. Maybe I think I'm a homebody.
Me too. So, well, without further ado, why don't we introduce a new homebody or our home boy?
What? Home? Jeez Louise, what is going on? Let's get this man a drink. Without further ado, I am thrilled. I'm a huge fan. I've been for a very long time. And it's a pleasure to present Erik Larsen joining us tonight. Erik, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, I'm going to be looking down a lot because I'm inking at the same time. So
the show must go on, huh, Mr. Larsen?
The show must go on, man. The deadlines persist regardless of everything else.
Yes, you know what, and that's freaking Billy does the same thing. He draws on 90% of our shows.
I do. Well, right? We have deadlines. We got to get these books out.
Man. That's the gig. That's the job. Living the dream, I guess.
Living the dream. So
or the nightmare, as it is.
Yeah. There's a lot worse nightmares, I guess. That we could be doing. We could have a real job.
Well,
imagine that. Let me ask you, what would you guys be doing if you never made it to where you are in comics today? What do you think you'd be doing right now?
Erik?
I don't imagine I'd do anything else.
With me, we had talked about a plan B. There was no plan B for me.
Yeah, I had nothing. I didn't go to school at all. So I got nothing. I've got no qualifications to do anything.
Did you go to art school?
No, I didn't even finish high school, dude.
Oh my God!
Now I'm halfway through 11th grade. We moved, and I was just I hated school. I hated the kids. It was just a real cliquish school where everybody had been going to school with each other for years and years, and I was the new kid, and it was pretty clear that I was not welcome. And so I was like, I wanted to pursue doing comics, and my dad accommodated me. He's like, all right, let's see how that goes.
Oh, really? So your father supported you?
Yeah, my father totally supported me
great.
in all kinds of times. He was a totally cool guy in that respect.
Now, are you completely self-taught with your drawing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was all how to draw comics the Marvel way and just analyzing the shit out of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just months and months and months and years of just going, okay, how did that work? Why did that work?
Yeah.
What am I looking at here? Why did when I try it, it doesn't work, and when somebody else tries it, it does work? Getting pages back that are inked by somebody else, seeing stuff in print was a real eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues to this day when I'm going to try working a different size. All right, well, what does that look like in print? Oh crap, these panels are too small and it's too dense to really see, and I need to make some adjustments. And it's like that all the damn time, where I'm just trying out different things and seeing what works and what doesn't. Stuff like that.
Now, let me ask you, when you were like learning your anatomy and everything, would you go out and try to draw like life drawings?
Mostly it was I got various anatomy books that everybody gets and recommends and stuff like that.
Yep.
I got some muscle mags to just go, okay, what are we looking at? How's that actually look when real people do it? And whatever I could get my hands on at that point. But not a huge amount of figure drawing with real people. A little bit, but not a lot.
Gotcha. Because that's the question I get a lot. People asking, like, how did you learn how to do your anatomy, and what classes did you take, or this and that? And I said, honestly, I got a lot of books. I went through a lot of books, and I would go out and do some life drawing stuff, like just look at random people, like literally go to a park and just draw strangers.
Yeah. Well, also if you're in any kind of a studio thing, or you've got friends at all,
Mm-hmm.
you can always be, hey, come over here a second, put your arm up, and get somebody like, take your shirt off. What's that look like? That area there. I'm having trouble with that.
Yeah.
And there ends up being a lot of that. I moved down to San Francisco when I was 24 to be part of a studio. So there was a gang of guys who had a studio down here, and I could be part of that. And so I was like, I'm down with that. Got myself an apartment and joined up with them and hung out there and learned a lot from the different people that I was working with. And it all comes together, and eventually you figure this shit out, or you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
So
that
what
happens too.
So what actually got you into comics, though? How old were you when you discovered comics?
My dad bought comics when he was a kid.
Oh,
So
wow.
we grew up with his comic book collection, which was from the 40s and 50s. So my early comics were Captain Marvel Adventures, Boy Commandos, all the Barks, Ducks stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just all the he bought comics until he stopped making comics for people. So basically, he grew up with comics. As he got older, comics grew up with him.
Yeah.
And so he veered into getting the EC stuff when EC started going.
Mm-hmm.
So then when EC folded, there were suddenly no comic books for him anymore. There was nothing for him to read. So his comic book collecting stopped and his Playboy collection kicked in.
Well, those help you with drawing too, though, I bet.
So
There's some good comics in there too.
So when you discovered, how to draw comics the Marvel way, the great, Stanley and John Buscema book, were you a Marvel fan? And how did you first, it was given to me. That book was given to me by a friend of mine who's named John Tartaglione, and he was a longtime art director at Marvel. We're a great inker, inked hundreds, thousands of books. If you know his name, he was I know. He was my mentor, and he gave it to me. Gave me that book, and it changed my life.
I don't know what year that came out. I'm not sure.
78, maybe.
Was it 78?
Yeah, I think it might have been 1978.
If it was that early, was it that early? No.
Let me Google.
Drawing the Marvel way?
How to draw comics.
It's not like we're not all on computers, right? You can't look at it.
It's from the 70s. It is from the 70s, yeah.
I know that Nova was in it, and it's like, all right.
Yeah. It was late 70s, like 78 or 77.
Yeah. I got into Marvel comics, during the 70s, because I'm a kid of the 70s. So
78.
78.
All right, 78. So I got into comics. Getting my own comics, it was all Marvel stuff. I got into that. I ran into an issue of the Hulk early on, Incredible Hulk 156, and that was kind of my gateway drug in terms of getting into this stuff. And I had just like one Marvel comic or something like that. It wasn't much. There wasn't much there, and then it was. And then there was 2, and then there was 3, and suddenly it was like, oh, these things are available, and I can find them somewhere. And now I'm actively pursuing this, and how do I get these things, and where are they? And you know, and then the hunt was on. So I really was starting to get full on into comics during the late 70s, early 80s, and I was just in pursuit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Marvel really dominated those times.
They did.
Yeah.
When I at my earliest time, they were still 20 cents. They were just getting ready to transition into jumping up. Marvel went first, so they went up to 25 cents, and DC was 20. So for a while there, was like, I can get 5 of these for the price of 4. So I'm going to try some of these DC books and see how I like those. And Jack Kirby was at DC at that point, and so I got into his stuff. He was doing Commandy, the Last Boy on Earth, and he was doing the Demon, and sort of, you know, the New God stuff was over and done with. Although Mr. Miracle was still kind of hanging in there, so I got into that stuff and was super into him. And then when he came back over to Marvel, it was like, all right, I'll put up for that. That's awesome. So I got super into that. And but before I was really actively buying comics on a regular basis, I started drawing my own comics because I didn't have access to regular comic books at that point. So I just we had moved down to a town called Albion, California. We moved up at Albion Ridge Road. My parents were kind of wannabe hippies without the drugs. So they were kind of like, hey, let's buy this hunk of land, and we'll live off the land, and we'll raise our own gardens and have goats and do all that kind of stuff. But initially they just bought a hunk of land. So, you know, we just drove into the woods essentially, and they're like, hey kids, we're home. And it's like, wait, this is it? So at that point it was like I had all kinds of free time. I had a older brother and 2 younger sisters, but it's like, oh, why play with them? I'm gonna draw comic books. And so I just started really actively making up my own characters and telling my own stories really early on. So like 5th grade on, I was really actively, I am making comics, and they are going to be, I'll make them as many as I can make them, and I just stacked them up and made tons and tons and tons of comic books.
Did awesome. Any of those characters make their way to the pages of Savage Dragon?
Savage Dragon.
Was Savage Dragon one of them that you first created in 5th grade?
Yeah, like 4th grade.
That's awesome.
Wow,
that's incredible.
The dragon at that point, and he was a ripoff of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can imagine the fin on his head, but it was a short little fin. So it was like the Dick Sprang Batman. So he had like just this little fin, basically a turd draped over his head. But he had the mask. So he had the mask. So the cape and the cowl, that was all green. He had a little mask hole, and that was just the human being face showing through. And he had a big cape, and he had a utility belt, and he had bell-bottom pants because those were cool.
Yeah.
And then he drove around in Speed Racer's car because that was badass.
Yeah.
You know, and he fought crime. And I went through kind of several different variations on that character. Eventually, I kept kind of reinventing him. I'd be like, oh, this guy's cool. He'll be like Captain Kirk, and he'll be on a spaceship. And then it was like, no, I'll do this. No, now he's going to be from this red planet. He's going to be an alien, and he'll fight crime there. There'll be a city he jumps on down to. And I kept doing different stuff. Eventually, he was a guy named William Johnson who would turn into Savage Dragon and so he would physically change to be a bulky dude and then dress up in his Batman outfit and go out and fight crime. So he still had the cape and he still had the cowl and all that, but it was now he would change into another dude. And then eventually it was like, oh, they have somewhat different personalities, as different as I could make them as a child. And then I just got sick of drawing that stupid mask hole and all that. So I tore him apart and made him into two separate guys. William Johnson became like a regular dude. And then the dragon became his own guy. And at that point, he was like, all right, I'm going to be a green skin guy. And I started giving him some body hair and stuff like that. And that's when I started going on and telling my stories. And I drew comics all the way up through as much of high school as I went. And then I just kept on drawing and just trying to get better and cracking the books and trying to improve. When I was 19, me and a couple of buddies self-published a fanzine called Graphic Fantasy. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we had something that we can show people.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's physical manifestation of my efforts. I mean, that story that I had done for Graphic Fantasy was originally, I was trying to break in through another company. Charlton Comics was doing a book called Charlton Bullseye, where they were just printing whoever sent shit in, basically. Yeah. It was like, we're not going to pay you, you will get nothing, but you can keep your copyright. So basically this is a way of establishing copyright for people. And they did a issue that was Thunder Bunny, and they did an issue that was something else. And there was just a bunch of one shots that came through there. And there were guys who just wanted to work it out. A big part of getting into comics and breaking into comics is just figuring out shit. Like, you don't know how to do anything at one point. It's like, I don't know what size I'm supposed to be drawing things in. I don't know what kind of paper I'm supposed to be using. There's all these questions that you have no idea how to do any of this shit at all. And then bit by bit, you kind of go, oh, I'm figuring this out. I'm self-publishing, or I'm trying this or trying that, and eventually you kind of get a handle on it, or you don't. That's the other part. I mean, there's plenty of guys who are just like, I never figured that shit out, so here I am.
Now, who? Good now.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, isn't it incredible though how much you can actually figure out on your own? Like, even like perspective and stuff. Like, through the years of just drawing and teaching yourself, like, you don't realize like you're picking up on these things before you maybe even know the terminology, of perspective.
I mean, there's a bit of that. I mean, and books definitely do help. Mm-hmm. I would definitely suggest, getting out there and getting some of this very basic stuff. How to draw comics the Marvel way just was like, oh, they're this big. I get it. I'm supposed to be drawing bigger than I was. That's helpful. Mm-hmm. Because I was drawing on 8.5 by 11 paper folded in half, so I was drawing smaller than regular comic book print size.
Wow!
And they were tiny.
Now, Erik, when you first started, and you're a teenager, you want to draw, you want to follow this. I know with me, and I've had this conversation with a couple of my other buddies. I remember seeing, George Perez and John Byrne, and even Dave Stevens came in. Jose Garcia Lopez. And I was so intimidated that I actually stopped because I wanted to be an artist. I loved art. And I read comics in elementary school and junior high. Once I kind of started getting pretty good, you start to kind of pull away from the rest of the crowd and you start taking the art class more seriously. I was so intimidated by them. Like, I could never do this. Did you experience anything like that? I was just so.
No, I thought I was bad enough that I didn't know how bad I was. So it's like that's my computer keeps going dead. It's not seeing the movement on here. So the light keeps changing. But I was so bad that I didn't realize I was bad. because I didn't know. I didn't have enough knowledge to know that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So because of that, I was look at what other people were doing and go, oh, I'm every bit as good as they are.
Oh, are you?
Because I just no perspective on it at all.
Yeah.
And then it was later on that, the better you get, the more you go, shit, these guys are way better than I am. What the hell am I doing? And then you look at the stuff that you were drawing when you broke in, you go, how the hell did anybody give me a break? This is so bad.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And yet they gave me work.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
So how did you break in? How did you break in? You started doing, you had your own fanzine.
Yeah, well, I self-published. Yeah. And once I had a published thing, then I had samples that I could show people. And then I just sent them to everybody. And somebody gave me a break. It was just somebody who had bought my comic through the mail, Gary Carlson, bought my comic through the mail, and he was like, I want to start up my own comic book company. And he was just doing small black and white comics. This was before the black and white boom even. He was just like, I want to do this. So he hired me at $15 a page and we co-created a character together, and I just did a story for him, and that was the start of it.
Mm.
And so, each time you would do something, then it's like, all right, well, that gives me something to show to the next guy, which gives me something to show to the next guy. And it just becomes that. It's just this gradual process of amassing stuff, that you can show. And so I started with Megaton, and then that stuff got me hired at a company called AC Comics or Americomics, who was doing terrible stuff. And then that stuff got me. I all this time had been corresponding with Jim Shooter, because he was the guy over at Marvel. He was in charge. He was the editor-in-chief. And so I would show him my stuff, and he'd be close but no cigar. And it's like, all right, closer but no cigar. And at one point, I went to a convention. I went to Chicago and met Shooter and showed him the work that I was working on at that point. And he said, so you're a professional now? And I was like, yes, I am. And he said, how would you like to do a story for Marvel Fanfare? And I was like, I would. We should plot that here at the convention.
Oh.
And he said, okay.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so what I didn't know was that Marvel Fanfare was kind of code for how would you like to do an inventory story.
Okay.
What I thought it meant was, how would you like to work on Marvel Fanfare, which was an upscale, publication. So it's like, all right, I've been in this business 40 minutes and I'm already working on Fanfare.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
But so we sat down and we plotted out a Hulk versus Thor story in the lobby of the whatever convention place that was. That was the early Chicago, so way before Wizard acquired it and ran it into the ground.
Word. Yep.
And once I had drawn that, then I had the ultimate samples, because it's the Hulk, and he's kicking the living shit out of Thor, and he's throwing a train at him, and he's, they're battling for page after page, or they're going through a paint store, and then they're coming out the other side, and then they're going over here, and they're knocking over trees and uprooting shit. And it's like, well, there's some samples that are going to get you work, and they did. Yeah. And so Mark Evanier hired me to draw DN Agents over at Eclipse Comics, and then Jim Salicrup needed a warm body on Spider-Man, so I did a fill-in on Spider-Man pretty early on in the midst of all that. And then Mike Gold over at DC wanted to get me on something. He really wanted me to be the artist on Teen Titans, but Marvelman was not having it.
Oh, really? Oh, we had Marv on.
He just was like, this guy sucks.
Oh,
It's
no.
like,
Hey Billy, let's
knew what
bring
he was
Marv
doing.
back on with Erik. We'll bring him in right now.
so it's like, all right. But so I did like the secret origin of Nightwing, and then I did what the hell? I did 2 issues of Teen Titans Spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
I did 1 issue of Teen Titans, but it was with Paul Levitz, who wrote a fill-in issue, and he just wasn't having it. I worked with Marv on 1 story as for an issue of Adventures of Superman, and it was a little shaky on my part. It wasn't a great story, but I didn't do an awesome job on it either. So I could see that he was just looking at that going, I don't think this guy's quite ready yet.
How long did they give you to do it?
Oh, it was always, a month at best. At best.
And how many pages?
Often it would be, we need this in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. It wasn't, if it's fill-in stuff, depending on how much an editor had their act together, because some editors were really, really ahead of time. So what they would do is they would get people to do inventory stories, and then they could slot those things in when people needed a break. And other people were really hand to mouth. And so with those guys, it was like, we need this and we need it in 8 days. Can you do it?
Oh,
wow.
And it's like those kinds of jobs, you're like, all right, let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
And I love doing those kinds of jobs. Actually, I have a good time doing it, just because there's this real fire of adrenaline to be like, I'm gonna get this thing done. God damn it, here I go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Coffee pot percolating for hours.
So
Well, you are incredibly prolific too, though. What issue of Savage Dragon are you working on right now?
this very second, I'm working on page 6 of issue 249.
Wow. You know what's funny? Me and Billy were talking today. It was like, man, can you imagine like just going on and on with a series? Like how incredibly difficult but fulfilling it must be to just continue on with your characters and your stories and your different story arcs.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll tell you. It's fun. And then you're not sitting there going, I don't know what this guy looks like. You know, whenever I take on a new book, there's always that learning process of, I haven't figured out how I'm going to draw them yet. What does, you know, because it's like there's the regular comic book version, whatever, that whoever's drawn, and there's 60 versions of that because a million artists have sat there and done their rendition of Squirrel Girl or whatever the hell it is, your book you've taken on. And you take it on, you go, well, I don't know which one the definitive version is, and what's my take on that? What am I capable of doing? You know, and then just taking it from there, and then you figure it out. And if it's fill-in work, then by the time you figure it out, you're done.
Yeah.
Now we did have a question up, and I know we kind of talked about this before we went on, but let's see if I can find it here. Here we go.
Someone is asking on what kind of quill am I using? I'm using a Hunt 102.
Yeah, but Cloak the Guy says, "Hey, now would like to know if how Erik will be publishing Savage Dragon further after Diamond News."
I won't be publishing it. That's how that works.
Until the everything kind of settles back to normal.
Yeah, Diamond is not dead. Diamond is shut down until this virus thing is taken care of. The printers aren't printing, and so I am waiting it out until the printers are back, and then once the printers are back, then I will start publishing Savage Dragon again. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on it so that when they come back, I've got a bunch of issues I can put out, and I will put them out monthly. At that point, I'm not going to be suddenly going, hey, it's coming out every other week. I'm just going to put them out monthly when we get back, because I have wanted to be ahead instead of behind the ball forever. And I've never had the opportunity to be able to get ahead ever. And so this would be really nice to not be sitting there going, go, 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 all the time.
That makes perfect sense, though, if you think about it. Like, everything's on pause now, so why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, no, it's good. And I don't want to, I mean, I know that people want their comics. I get that, but I don't want to be screwing over stores while they're in a weakened state, you know, as it is. So it's like, I'm not going to be putting out my comic digitally while it's not available physically.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And Coke the guy says thank you for that, and that he doesn't like digital books.
Well, which is fine. I mean, the thing that I've noticed is that most people, when they're doing digital books, haven't really played to the advantages that digital does have. You know, I mean, there's no reason that we couldn't be doing digital books that are 100 pages long. And we're going to have, here's the regular story, and then here's 20 pages of pencils. Here's 20 pages of inks. Here's 20 pages of inks with lettering. Here's 20 pages of inks, lettering, and color. You know, and you can see this thing now. We could be doing that every issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't. We're sitting there going, no, they're gonna be what our comics are, you know, what our print comics are, which is cool too. But, you know, there's especially things like, oh, I could have there be ads for stuff that there aren't in the comics because they don't leave any room for ads. So, you know, why not in the digital book? Here's, you know, plugs for all my fellow image books, and here's this, and here's that. There's no reason we can't do a lot of this stuff, but we just don't, because it's easier not to, and it's lazier and whatever. Which
I know a lot of retailers are appreciative of the statement that you put out earlier this week about that you're not going to release any, you know, Dragon on digital. You want it because that could, you know, hurt them in this really hurting time.
Yeah, I would think that would be bad news.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think I think it would be great if everyone. I know we all want our books. Everybody wants to read their comics, but again, as Jimmy had said, Jimmy Palmiotti's here, and he's saying that we're tactile people. We like to feel the comics. You know, there's just something about a comic book that people want to hold. I mean, remember that time we were all terrified that, or a lot of people were terrified that digital is going to take over. You know, and that really didn't pan out at all. That didn't work out.
I mean, it's certainly the numbers don't indicate that they are taking over. I mean, there's a certain amount of people who are going to embrace digital. It is more convenient to some extent. It's, you know, it's an instant thing. Really, we could have it that there's no new comic a day anymore. Now comics come out whenever anybody gets them done.
Yeah,
that could be cool. I mean, there's things that we could do if it became all digital. I don't want to do them. I don't like that. You know, I want there to be physical comics. And,
you got to have the physical.
You know, and I like that you go to conventions and you can get stuff signed by somebody.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly down with, oh, this is valuable collector's item stuff, but that's a part of it too. You know, you do lose the collector part of it when you're doing digital books.
I think digital offers that convenience, you know. I mean, I do both.
It's convenient. I don't have to leave my house. It appears magically or I can make it appear magically. And and a lot of areas don't have comic book stores, and it's like, and a lot of areas won't have comic book stores pretty soon. So
Yeah.
Plus, they're great for travel. You throw everything on your tablet or whatever, and you're on a plane. You can read a bunch, catch up on things, or even if you got to go somewhere with the wife.
Yeah.
Jimmy Palmiotti asks, does Erik sell his original art?
I have sold plenty of stuff over the years. Because Savage Dragon issues are complete, and I write them in pencil and ink them. I've been mostly selling them as complete issues.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's awesome.
But that means they're expensive.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people are sitting over there going, "Well, I've got $9,000 right here. Here you go."
Yeah.
That's it. Hang on a second. I'll take two.
And they vary in price and whatever. So and there's a bunch that I'm like, I'm not selling this ever. But I've sold, a handful of issues over the years, just cause. And then there were a couple issues that were broken up just because of the nature of the issue, where I had a flashback to an earlier issue, and I just reused a page. Something like that. Excuse me.
Sure. And then we got a super chat
here. Excuse me. So those issues where they were broken up because they were you reused pages, those were now, they're incomplete, so I sold those off as individual pages. So there's a few issues where when I go to conventions, I'll be like, I've got some Savage Dragon pages, but it's pretty picked over by you're looking through it, it's like there's not much dragon in these dragon pages.
Yeah.
Like, sorry about that. You want to buy an issue?
We have we want to pop up.
We got a super chat here from Brian Blevins. He's actually one of the producers on our show too. He says, going nostalgic here. I loved your Sinister Six run in Amazing Spider-Man. Did you have any say on the second Sinister Six and Todd's Spider-Man reboot? Were you excited to do that story specifically again?
Did I have any say in it? I wrote it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I had all the say, basically, other than, the editor not wanting to get me Wolverine when I wanted him. Yeah, the pitch was they had done the new Fantastic Four in the Fantastic Four, where it was Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and I was like, let's just do the new Fantastic Four versus the Sinister Six. Oh, that would be cool. And then he was like, yeah, I don't like the editor of Wolverine or whatever it was. I was like, oh, come on. you can't make that work just for me. But whatever. I wrote my story and did what I could with it,
Brian Blevins replies, "Oh dang, mic drop." Right, you wrote it, son.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Yeah, I wrote it. So yeah, I had something to do with that.
Now, Erik, it's very prevalent.
Has a hyphen. Tell him that.
it's
man is capitalized. Okay.
Yeah. From what you were talking about, that you love comic art and being a fan, and Jimmy Palmiotti posted in there, says that you collect a lot of comic art. You have a pretty interesting collection.
Yeah, I do. I
have
hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Anyone particular that you collect, I've
got more Jack Kirby than anybody else. So I got 200 and something pages of Jack Kirby.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
A lot of complete issues, because I bought a bunch of them from a guy who was dumping complete issues. So it's like, I will take whatever you want to get rid of. So there's some issues of Commandy in there. Losers. I've got an issue of Thor. And I've got the Eternals annual. I've got that.
Oh, awesome.
And a bunch of just scattered pages that I got on eBay because I could get them on eBay. And I've got 2 Fantastic Four pages, and that's I would love to have a complete issue of the FF, but those things are now just absolutely out of everybody's range.
Now, Jack left us in '94. Were you friends with him? Did you get to spend a lot of time with him?
I met him at several conventions and spent approximately 0 time with him. I mean, it was just handshake, how you doing? People would introduce me and we exchange a couple words, but there was never anything that was like, oh, that was super insightful that I heard from Jack Kirby. That was great. It was all just very superficial stuff.
So Jimmy, I don't know. Who is this Jimmy Palmiotti guy?
Guys. I met Stan and I worked with Stan. I met Steve Ditko at Marvel.
Oh, nice.
I met Gil Kane, Gene Colan. Kind of most of my heroes I met. I met Herb Trimpe, who is super. Yeah. He was really big when I was a little kid because I love the Hulk and I loved his work on it. And I was destroyed when he left that book.
There's a great story that I was told by Dave Spurlock about Gil Kane, and it involves, I don't know if you know this story with Jim Starlin that you had mentioned Starlin, and Jim Starlin had turned in San Diego Comic-Con was coming up. I don't know if you know this story. It's the week before San Diego Comic-Con. Jim's got to finish a book. He finishes the book. He gets it in on Wednesday or something like that. Then he gets on a plane, goes to San Diego, gets to San Diego Thursday night, whatever the show's Friday or something like that. And some fan walks up to him with the pages he turned in on Monday and asks him to sign the pages.
Oh, nice.
So Jim goes, "Where did you get that from? Where'd you get this?" And he goes, "Oh, from Gil Kane." And he goes, "What?" "Yeah, I just bought them off of Gil Kane." And Jim goes, "I just turned these in earlier this week." And the guy goes, "Well, there's Gil right there." Gil was just walking by. Jim gets up and he's infuriated, runs up to with the pages to Gil. And he goes, "Gil, you sold this guy these pages?" And he said Gil just looked at him and put his arm on Jim's shoulder and said, "My boy, you caught me."
Yeah, I've heard a little of that. But it was like, Gil, take that back. We haven't printed that yet.
You just see Gil in the offices, and there's a whole pile of pages. Like, oh,
yeah, right.
Starts pulling it and selling it.
Well, I know there's a few guys who ended up with a few pages that you go, wait a minute, what's going on here? How come you have that?
You can't make that stuff up. Just too darn good.
So let me ask now. Now with Savage Dragon, I mean, in the '90s, I mean, you guys at Image, I mean, you guys were just killing it. I mean, your books were just crazy. I was buying everything you guys were putting out. And on top of that, I wasn't only reading this stuff, I was watching it on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much all of you had, your own series. I mean, what was it like working on the Savage Dragon cartoon?
It was weird. It was definitely weird. It was cool to see, characters on the screen moving around, their heads would turn, and it's like, oh, the fin does kind of work. when his head moves, they can make that happen. But there was definitely contentious stuff with the network where we're like, they wanted certain things and I wanted certain things, and they won.
yeah
because that's just how that works. And some of that was just I kind of at that point was like I pictured him as at least like Bruce Willis as a superhero.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was going with. It's like Die Hard with a fin kind of thing. And so that was my headspace. And one of the guys who was doing the voices had heard that. So he did like a minor kind of Bruce Willis impersonation. So I was like, yeah, I want that guy.
There you go.
Like, well, we like this guy better. All right. I guess that's what we're going with then, because you win this round. you know, but there was
man.
some stuff I did get approval on where I was able to kind of get my way on some of the art stuff and how the characters were going to look and stuff like that. But, you know, there were battles that I could not win. And you just kind of go, oh, well, that's how that works when you're not in charge.
So it's hard. So it's hard to have, you know, creative freedom when you take your book from print to the screen.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's you're one of many chefs, and you know, you don't have that kind of control that you had when you're doing everything yourself, and you're approving the colorist, and you know, I mean, on Savage Dragon, I have got the ultimate control in this thing. There is nobody at any point who can say no or make any changes at all. It's, you know, the colorist is sending stuff directly to me. The letterer is sending stuff directly to me. I am marrying the lettering with the pages and sending them into image flattened and ready to be printed. And they don't touch it. They don't make any changes. They don't do anything. If there's a typo, I made it. You know? And when you go and you work with somebody else and do stuff with other people, suddenly it's well, crap, man. I don't get approval on this, and I don't get to do that, and all this sort of stuff. Plus, at that point, the comics were selling really, really well. So it's like, yeah, you're getting a decent check for doing this animated stuff. For those 2 seasons, you could just put out 2 issues, and that's the same money. So just do 2 issues. If this is gonna suck up a bunch of your time, you know, it's better for you just to get your damn book done.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, did that originally air on Fox? Was that Fox Kids?
That was the USA Network.
Oh, USA.
Yeah, and they had a tough time because Dragon was actually a big show for them. Yeah, and that was a successful show, but they couldn't put together a successful block. So they had Dragon on, and then they had 3 other shows, and all the other shows just did not do well. So for the second season, they replaced all the other shows, and they did 3 new shows to go with Dragon, and those shows didn't do well. So the reason that Dragon's not still on the air is mostly because they couldn't put together a successful block of shows. So it's like, we can't do this, and we can't just have the one cartoon. They didn't want to just do the one. Yeah. So
would you ever want to see that on the screen again?
I'll be fine with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. You know, I think I've kind of come to the conclusion that I can't be a control freak on that because I can't have the control.
Yeah.
So because I can't have the control, you know, just find somebody competent and just get the hell out of the way and just, you know, you go do your thing. I'm going to continue to do my comics, and I'm, you know, inevitably going to do something in my comics that'll piss you off. So, so while I'm pissing you off, you go ahead and piss me off, and you know, because you know the show. I mean, there are episodes of the show I haven't watched. It's like, I lost interest in this.
Oh, really? So you're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, like I said, if they do something that pisses you off about, you know, like, oh, it's just a negative.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that you want that, and that's the thing I strive for is control. You know, all this stuff, and you know, when I step my foot back, you know, my pinky toe back in Marvel or DC and do a little bit of stuff, it's like, oh, that's right. I'm not in charge.
Yeah.
I can't do whatever the hell I want. And if somebody decides, you know, whatever, there's always something. There's always something.
Yeah. Now, I have
that thong is too much of a thong. It's like, oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
A little more ass cheek than you guys are used to.
Now, Eric, I have a thing. I've had the privilege of sitting next to you, across from you at a bunch of shows, and you're always working. I mean, you're incredibly gregarious and open to your fans and very accommodating, but you're always working on your pages too. You know, and what I noticed, and we have Coke the guy said here, I met our Eric in 1999 in Wizard World, Chicago. Great how he holds his pen when drawing or pencil.
Yeah.
And then we had a follow-up. Kevin too said, yeah, there's no one that holds a pen quite like Mr. E. I feel the same. I feel the same way. Obviously, it works because you're brilliant, but you have a very unorthodox way of holding your pencil when you draw.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Now, how did you develop that?
I picked it up like that as a little kid.
Oh, really? Oh,
so really, I mean, there's no good angle to show this.
Give him a full screen now.
Yeah, let me give you a full screen.
I mean, there's only so much I can do here.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm drawing, I'm holding it out like that.
It's almost like painting.
Yeah.
So
actually, though, I do that when I rough.
You know, so these two fingers are together, thumb, middle finger. The other one's pointing on it. The other two on the backside are just wrapped around, and I'm making like that. You know, I can't. I have no support under this.
Yeah,
so
sure. Yeah.
No,
I can't go to work.
It's amazing because there's a couple of us, and we'll just watch you.
No, it's like,
look, he's drawing, and we just watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got over here.
No, we don't tell. Yeah, we just we kind of sneak up behind you and watch you.
Yeah, not for nothing though. And Billy, you should try. I don't do it exactly like him, but when I rough, sometimes I'll just go like this. Like I don't wrap fingers around. I stay on the edges, and I just go around like that. And then when I go into detail, that's when I go this way. It goes really quick.
The thing is, you know, I picked this up as a real little kid, so nobody could get me to hold my pencil properly.
Do you when you write? Do you when you sign like?
Yeah, I can sign holding it properly. I can sign my name. I can do some kind of rudimentary stuff that way. Just because I got tired of being at a grocery store and having to sign my name and then be like, hey, what's going? It's like, God, do we really need to have this conversation again?
Yeah,
we just not. How about I learn how to hold this so I can just sign my goddamn name and then I can just, you know, do this concentrated burst of this at conventions. But other than that, you know.
It works, and TMC said Bernie Wrightson held a pen similar.
I never saw it.
Yeah, did you know Bernie? Did you get to know him?
I have met Bernie, yeah, but you know, I've never seen him draw, so I don't know how accurate that is as a statement that he held it that way. I've never seen that. I know there's a bunch of people who hold it super weird. It's like, all right, you know, do what you got to do.
Well, it works.
Yeah, right.
It works.
That's what you need. It's like we just need this to work. That's all we got. So.
And then we got another super chat from Coke the guy saying a great show. And he asks, Eric, what comic series do you check out? Are you currently into anything right now? If you have time.
I mostly follow artists, so it's like, you know, I really just go into the store and browse. I don't have a pull list. I just go and see what's new and what somebody's doing. It's like, oh, this guy's doing some interesting looking stuff. I'll get this. Mm-hmm. I always get Chris Pacello's stuff whenever he does anything.
Oh, yeah.
I just love his work. I draw nothing like him, but I love his work. A bunch of God, I can't. I'm totally blanking. I mean, if Mark Sylvester ever sits pen to paper, I'm always down for that.
Yeah,
I think his stuff is really great. Rick Leonardi, I will get anything he does if I see it. Geez, I know I'm blank. Humberto Ramos is, if he's doing comics,
He's fun.
There for that. I like his work. If Adam Hughes is drawing anything, I'm there for that. I don't generally just buy covers, but if he's drawing a comic, for the most part, I'll get it, unless it's before Watchmen.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we have another question about video games.
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, they're tough. Video games are really tough. But I had a friend of mine who ran IDOS with Tomb Raider. And
we never saw Savage Dragon in a video game because nobody has asked, and I don't give a shit about video games.
There you go.
That's basically it. I was really right at the wrong end of that when video games came around. It was like Pong and asteroids, and I was like, "This is bullshit," So I was not the right age for that, and I never was like, "Oh, I should be totally getting into this," because my work takes up a lot of time, and it's like I don't really need any other way to fuck off.
Yeah,
I've got plenty of ways to do that.
Now, did you fall into that vein? I mean, a lot of us did that. The Hollywood comes a calling. I mean, you had the animated thing, and maybe you head down there, you go into Hollywood for meetings and stuff like that. And
yeah, I did a little bit of that.
But then it's like, oh, what a waste of time. I could be working here.
Yeah, well, I'd bring work with me, and I'd be working in those meetings.
Oh, really?
So, you got a table? I got work to do. So if you're gonna just waste my time, I'm just gonna sit there and draw.
What a great strategy!
That is a great strategy.
What a great, because they're like,
it's gonna be like an intimidating strategy too. Like, what's this guy doing?
What's going on here?
You're not gonna waste.
You're supposed to be
time.
paying attention to us. It's like whatever. Yeah. I'm on the phone holding, drawing all the time. There's no reason that I can't be in a meeting doing this. Every time we had an image meeting, I would always be inking.
Now, how many issues have you worked on? Every single issue of Savage Dragon?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Heroinberg says, "Is Erik? I hope so. I'm sure that still shooting to break Dave Sims."
Oh yeah,
300 record.
I'll get there. I mean,
Dave's comics were like, they weren't really a lot of sequential stories in it either. A lot of it was Gerhard.
He also had a background guy starting with issue 63. So he had somebody really helping out really early on. So it's like, is that really a record? It's like you did write and orchestrate them, but certainly he's not doing the some of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever. I count it. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will. It's not. I'm not sitting here going, my goal is to break his record and then I'm done. It's like my goal is to do as many of these as I can before I, kick the bucket.
And will Jimmy Palmiotti your art? That's what he was asking. If you
can you add him into your will for some of the art?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a family. They're gonna be. I've got two boys, so I do have a.
Good.
I got a gang here.
Sorry, Jimmy.
So we got a special call here tonight. We all got two boys.
Huh?
Yeah.
We all got two boys.
Everybody's got two boys.
Everybody's got two boys on this screen.
Mine are adults essentially. So
mine are wee babies.
Yours are
wee little kids.
They're 20 months.
Mine are smelly, angry, maniacal teenagers.
Oh, good for you.
Who are too cool for the world and for us.
Yeah, mine are 25 and 22.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got full grown goddamn adults out there.
Yeah.
Well, they're quarantined and they're tearing my house apart, and I think my wife is going to leave us all.
My 22-year-old is going to college, so he is back home because of the whole virus deal.
Oh yeah. I think all the colleges did that now. So now
they're
pushing
all
out the semester online.
It's all supposed to be online, and thus far, I mean, it's supposed to, I think, start up again today. I don't think he did jack shit, honestly.
Yeah, well, yeah, we learned that our kids, they were supposed to go back to school on the 1st, but that doesn't look like it's happening of April. It looks like they're going to be off even into. I'm in New York. I'm on Long Island.
Oh, good.
So I'm about 60 miles.
You guys are going to be in this for a while.
Yeah,
I know. New York is that's you got cases there. You got a bunch of people who are.
Oh yeah.
And especially if they start going, hey, everybody's going to get back to work. Well, guess what? Everybody's going to be getting infected again because, all you need is another patient zero and away you go.
Mm-hmm.
And they have not tested everybody at all,
No.
And there are a lot of people who have it that are walking around thinking they don't have it.
Well, because for some people, it's just like the flu. They're thinking.
Well, for some people, there are no symptoms at all.
They're just carriers.
They just don't even know it.
Yeah.
So they're just walking around. They're asymptomatic. They're just walking around thinking everything's fine and dandy. They're not going in and getting themselves tested because they're fine.
Yeah.
So, those guys are going to get people really fucking sick at some point here. Yeah. And then we can have round 2 where we do this all over again.
Yeah.
Or we can all just stay in our goddamn house for a little while here. Hey, if everybody stays in their house for a month, we can be done with this, and that's the end of it, But chances are, you got people chomping at the bit to get people back out in the workforce for the sake of the economy, and hey, it's a nice idea, nice sentiment. Hey, we would all like to not be quarantined anymore, and wouldn't it be great if we were doing this or that? But use your brain for crying out loud.
It's really jumping up here in the Northeast. Even I'm in Connecticut, and we get a lot of commuters from New York, and it's really starting to pile up here.
Well, people travel, and people have relatives all over the place, and at this point, there are people that are sick in every state, every single state. There's no place you can go where there's nobody that's got it. So it's like, get your shit together, everybody.
Yeah. Well, we have a problem out here on Long Island. We have a lot of people, all the people in the city, a lot of them have their houses out here on Long Island. They're summer houses, and they're invading the Hamptons. And now that all these cases are spiking out there, that, which is probably a good 80 miles east of Manhattan, that there weren't any. Yeah. And it's just them coming, and they're just, instead of quarantining themselves in the city, because, they're still delivering everything in the city. You could still go to the supermarket and get stuff, but they want to get out of there. But the thing is, now they feel they're out here. Oh, well, I'm out here on Long Island. Well, let's go for a walk. Let's go to the store. Let's go do, you know what I mean? And they're having parties.
I mean, you go, hey, it's spring break, and you look down on the beach, and there's a million people.
Yeah.
We got in the car the other day, and we're just going to drive to the beach. The beach is really big here. It's wide, and it's cold as hell. So let's just go to the beach and walk along the beach. And we got there, and it's packed.
Wow.
So we're like, well, we're not doing this. So then we just drove to some well-to-do neighborhood, and it's like, well, these houses are every so often, so there's not going to be that many people around here. Just went for a walk around there, see how the swells live.
Indeed. And, hanging with the swells.
Oh, that's what we normally do here in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So, Erik, is there anything you want to tell us about the issue you're working on? What the future holds? Any
read the back issues.
Read the solicitations, man.
Yeah. Well, we had someone, Brian Blevins, one of our producers, and we were talking. He's a comics writer, and he was writing. He was having a little bit of questions about writing an action scene.
Yes.
We had this discussion on the pre-show, and he had something really interesting. Because I'm like, well, Erik, Savage Dragon is not like a typical Marvel or like a Marvel comic where the Avengers are all sitting around a conference table for 17 pages.
Mm-hmm.
You're chock full of action. Your books are very, very kinetic. They're always moving. What advice could you give someone who wants to write an action scene?
Well, there's so many parameters on it in terms of you have to go into it going, what the hell are you trying to accomplish? How many pages are you trying to fill? What state do you want people to be in once this is all over? Do you want people to be getting arms broken and then you can deal with that for the rest of the issue? Or you just want people to be punching each other back and forth for a few pages and then we're done with it? I mean, you can write, he punches her, she punches back, he punches back again, there's your fight scene. And it's like, if an artist is good, it's still going to look interesting. It'll still be kinetic. Mm-hmm. You can put big sound effects in there or whatever. But there's so much more that you can do visually with it. You just have to pick your moments and decide what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And you can have characters throwing shit at each other. It's like this guy picks up a car, hits him over the head with a car, and then the middle of it, bunches up, and then it explodes out. Now it comes like your guy, now his clothes are ripped and he's pissed off and he's covered with gasoline, and then he gets punched and then a spark happens and now he's on fire and they're fighting. And then they go through a window and suddenly they're going through, down the street and people are getting out of the way and cars are swerving and crashing and, it's like, and then your hero has to save somebody who had a light pole coming crashing down towards them. It's like suddenly you're 20 pages later going, shit, man, it's all fight scene. Nothing else happens. But you have to decide, what are you trying to accomplish with your fight scene? Is it just action for the sake of action? Because that's not very compelling as a story. There really needs to be the bad guy is trying to do this bad thing, or he's trying to do what he thinks is a good thing, but somebody else needs to stop him. Yeah. Because of some other reason. You're sitting there going, my bad guy has a wife at home and she needs a kidney transplant and there's no kidneys around. So now, my Peter Parker's aunt needs a kidney transplant and she's waiting at the hospital and suddenly a helicopter comes in, they're bringing in the kidney, but villain comes crashing into now, that's for my wife, goddamn it. Yeah. And he's and he's like, oh, that's my Aunt May needs that, you son of a bitch. And so the fight begins, and then it's like, oh, this fight is for something. There's actually something at stake here. Mm-hmm. There's things that people give a shit about. If it's characters just fighting for the sake of fighting, it can still look cool, but you're not going to have that. Well, something's at stake here. Somebody's in dire need. What could happen? How could this change everything? How is his life going to be different? Whatever. So you have to just kind of decide how many pages you have to fill, and B, what do you want to accomplish, and then C, you can start tossing out props. Like, okay, where the hell are they? If they're someplace that's visually interesting, play in that playground. You've suddenly got your place where people can be, going and they're doing construction here, and now I'm running up the side of the thing that that picks stuff up, the cranes, and I'm on this, and then I'm down in this building, and then we're going over here, and then we're crashing through this and going into that, and you're all over town, and it's like, oh, that's way more visually interesting than they're punching back. It's just a couple punches and then we're done.
That's one of the best answers we've ever got on this show. 112 episodes, right now?
Yeah, it is. That's the best answer.
Unbelievable. Ever. I'm inspired now. I'm like, yeah.
And there's so much that can be done.
Yeah.
And it can all look cool. but it's just finding a way to finding the fun in it and making something out of it and doing something cool with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's all you need to know right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Nile. I mean, we're over an hour, and I mean, I think that's pretty.
Dude, you know, however long you want to go, we could all just be here until our wives call us in for dinner or whatever. Yeah. Well, you guys are past.
For us, calling us in for bed.
That's what I got going on downstairs.
I do have a question though, because I mean, obviously, I mean, you as well as a few other creators are really known to have pulled off an amazing feat in the '90s, and I'm sure you've been asked this question many times. But I mean, were you prepared for how big Image blew up when you guys all came together and made that happen?
We thought it would do all right, but we honestly didn't know if the people who are reading would follow us, because there was kind of an unknown, and that was part of the fun of it. Was, hey, we're venturing off into uncharted territory here. Is this going to work? Are the fans who are reading this stuff now going to make the leap? We're not doing the same characters that we were known for, you know, and Marvel at that point was really making the it's just the characters, it's not the creators. We're in the business of selling Spider-Man, not Erik Larsen. So you know, we don't need him. We've done this book without him before. We'll do it without him again, which is, you know, it's true. You know, whoever is doing the book now is, as much as you think this guy is the guy, well, eventually he's not going to be the guy. Right. And somebody else is going to be doing that, and the book is going to continue. So it was something of a risk on our part. We thought that the audience might come with us. We knew we were getting a better piece of the back end than we were getting at Marvel. So the books didn't have to sell as many copies as the Marvel stuff did in order for them to be successful. But it was like, are they going to be into our new characters? Are they not? And actually the books that ended up having the most legs were by the guys who didn't make up their characters right then and there. It was by the guys who had characters already who could go, oh yeah, I created this guy named the Spawn, and I've had the Spawn here for years, and God dang it, I'll show those kids what to do. You know? Oh my God, I've done this before.
You guys all do his voice.
You got Todd, and he's doing the Spawn, right? And then there's Rob. This will be awesome. and Rob, I created all this stuff when I was a kid, and I'm really excited about it. You're not gonna believe it. This should be great. You know, so you got those two guys created this stuff when they were kids. You know, like Rob wanted to do Youngblood. Back when I was doing work on Megaton, Rob did a Megaton story really early on when he was like a teenager. I was a teenager too, but you know, he was a slightly younger kid. He came in later issues of Megaton when I had already moved on, but he had his Youngblood characters then, and so he had those, and Todd had Spawn, and I had the Dragon. So when we came and did the Image stuff, it's like we've got these characters that we kind of know and kind of know what we want to do with, and we could just kind of roll with them. Whereas some of the other guys who were making up their characters then and there were kind of going, all right, well, X-Men looks like this. I've been working on the X-Men, so let's do more of that. And I don't think those characters ended up being as deep, and you know, and there just wasn't as much there for them to draw on. And I think it helped me in terms of just, my book, in that it had been created since I was in 4th grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got characters in there that look like they were designed by a 4th grader. And I've got characters in there that look like they're designed by a 28-year-old or whatever it was when Image started. And then, then all through up the years as time's gone on. So it doesn't necessarily all look like it was created by the same guy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're sitting there going, okay, well, we're creating this now. Well, you're one guy creating it now. This is all these characters are going to kind of have a familiar feel to them, and that there ended up being some of that.
And then you created yours out of passion.
Yeah.
Right. You just loved it, as opposed to, okay, what do we do now? Well, I guess I'll create some characters for the.
Well, mine too was my goal when I started doing comics was eventually I want to be doing my own character. Eventually I want to be doing the dragon, and I'm going to do this until the end of my career. So that was the goal was, if I could be doing my dragon character forever, I'm happy. And that was it. I didn't know that it was going to be that the rest of my career was going to start as early as it did.
Yeah.
I thought I would have more years of doing other stuff. As it turns out, my pre-dragon career was really like about 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point it was like, all right, now I'm doing this one dude forever.
Now, do you get the urge to want to? I mean, it's amazing that again that you've done over 240, 250 issues of this of your book, and I had this conversation with Jeannie Schultz, who was Charles Schultz's widow, and I said, we did Peanuts for 50 years. I said, did he ever want to do something else? And she's like, oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I said, no, you do this. Do you get to that urge? I mean, I know you could bring in new characters and things like that into the storyline, but do you ever get the urge like, oh, I got this new story though. I've got, on an All-Star, All-Star.
Yeah, no, I do it, but I do it. So it's like, oh, if I want to do something else, I just do it. It's like, oh, I'll do a one shot of, whatever character. I had an idea for a character that I wanted to do years and years and years and years ago. Actually, when DNA Agents ended up getting canceled, I had talked to Mark Evanier about, well, here's an idea for a character. And I just talked with him about something. And it was just a basic idea of this kid who would go through dimensional gates and into other dimensions and travel around and see what was going on there. And I thought, oh, this is just a cool idea. I want to do something with this. And then we didn't end up doing it together, but I hung on to the idea, and eventually I did that character in a Treasury edition that we put out a few years back. And it was just like, okay, now I can exercise that, get that out of my system and try that out. But I've done a lot of other stuff while I've been doing this. I've created other characters that I've written. I did Freak Force, I did Super Patriot, I did the Dudley Duo. And then I've gone and done some Spider-Man stuff at Marvel. I wrote Aquaman for about a year. I wrote Wolverine for about a year. I did 7, 8 issues of Nova at one point.
Oh, wow.
And then I did the Defenders with Kurt Busiek for about a year. I was drawing it. And I did that Fantastic Four World's Greatest Comic magazine where I was doing layouts for that and stuff like that.
All along while doing your book.
I did 3 issues of Spider-Man, 3 issues of Thor.
Wow.
And it's just like, you gotta get your shit together. And
I'm praying my wife isn't watching this right now.
You know,
Must have a hell of a daily planner.
She's gonna be pissed at
well,
me.
I mean, when you're doing 3 monthly books, you better get your shit together, and you better get fast. And it was like, all right, so I've got to do an issue of Spider-Man in a week, and then I've got to do my issue of Thor in a week, and then I've got 2 weeks left to do Savage Dragon. You know, but I'm writing penciling inking Savage Dragon, whereas Spider-Man and Thor, I was just, you know, doing whatever the hell I was doing. You know, I just have to do pencils. So it's like, all right, you got to do 4 pages a day. How are you going to do that?
Wow.
And go.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's your typical day like? You like, what time you get up? You know, I mean,
right now, typical.
Just like this, right? You just get to the art table, get to the computer.
The typical days I get up and draw comics, you know, and that's what it is. The process is fairly simple, and that is I sit down and I draw, and sometimes I'll pencil out the whole issue, and sometimes I'll just go page by page. And there is no written plot. There is no written script. There is nothing. I am going by, this is what happened in the previous issue, an idea in the back of my head as to where I'm going, you know, basic structure. Okay, I know this is going to probably take 3 pages. This will probably take 4. And you just go, and then after I've done drawing it, I script it, and I do balloon placement so the letterer knows where all the balloons should be. While I'm drawing it, I'm feeding pages to the colorist. So really, by the time I get and I've inked my last page, usually the issue goes to the printer 2 days lahow So
that's really inspiring.
So it depends on what it is too. Like sometimes it depends on my what letterer I'm working with. Some are faster than others. In some cases, I have to feed the letterer while I'm feeding the colorist. So there are occasions where I'm sitting here writing it piecemeal too. So like the issue I'm working on right now, so far at least, as I've been drawing it, I'll be like, here's a double page spread, and here's the script for the double page spread. Here's a page, here's the script for that page. You know, so as I'm going, the letterer is getting pages, and we're able to just keep it going and keep moving the whole time.
So soup to nuts, how long is an average issue?
Well, they come out every month, so I got to do an issue a month. They're supposed to come out every month. So it depends. I mean, I'm doing a bunch of stuff for issue 250. I wrote a shit ton of stories that other people are drawing for issue 250. So in those, you got to sit down and you got to write those things for other people. Now, I don't write a full script. I write plot style. But there is some dialogue in those regardless. So there's something. So when I get the pages back and I do have, it's time to script them, I can go in and do that. So I'm writing fight scenes like that for other people to draw and like that. So that ended up taking a lot of time. And also I'll do idiotic stuff because I'm an idiot. I decided I wanted to, that story I did when I was a kid, I did 2 issues of a self-published comic, Graphic Fantasy, which is the first appearances of the dragon in print. And so I was like, I want to color those. So, and I'm putting one of those in issue 250 here. So I had to sit down and color 24 pages of a comic.
Oh, wow.
You know, while I'm doing all this other stuff. And it's like, I just want it to look like how this comic would have looked if I would have published it in 1982 when that came out, you know? So I'm sitting here going, all right, well, here's the color palettes that were available then. Here's the paper that would have been available then. So, emulating newsprint and then using the regular Marvel, those color palettes that they had, 25%, 50%, and 100%. Those were the only percentages of color that they were using. So all the colors were made out of there. So, a Caucasian flesh tone is going to be 25% magenta, 25% yellow, and dragon's green skin is going to be 25% cyan and 100% yellow. And you just go through and color the whole damn book. And then after I'm done coloring it, then I do the conversion to, all right, now it's going to be on newsprint. Well, what does newsprint, I scan in a page of newsprint, make my own blank page of newsprint so I can just pop that on as a layer. But then I have to monkey with all the colors and pull them out of alignment slightly and do all sorts of stuff. And eventually I've got 24 pages, but I'm a slow colorist. I don't do that regularly. So I didn't have anybody doing flats for me. So,
but you make it work.
Well, I make it work, and the end result is, this comic looks way better than anything than it could have at that time.
Yeah.
Because I'm a better artist now than I was when I was 19, and I have a better idea of how colors work together than I did when I was 19. So I'm going to come up with interesting solutions to this stuff. And some of the panels in here look way better than they have any right to, given how terrible they are.
Yeah.
But it's like, take time out of your hectic schedule to color a comic book. So I wanted to get all the pieces of 250 done so that when 249 hit, that there wasn't like this huge gap between issues. So, that meant I got to take a little bit of time between issues 247 and 248 to get all this other stuff done. And in the meantime, I drew a 30-page Captain America story. So.
Oh my God!
Wrote and drew, so I had to write pencil ink that. So
holy cow! Now
you got nothing else going on. What the hell?
Now you seem to have to be very focused. Obviously, you got to be very focused. See, I have ADD, so I'm all over the place. Do you have a TV like in your studio that you also watch when you work? No. Do you have a radio? And if you do,
I have a computer, and I can play podcasts, or I can listen to comedy, or I can listen to music, or whatever the hell. There's listen to the news and watch the world fall apart.
Yeah. That's a big distraction.
All that stuff. I mean, there's so much crap going on. It's like, okay, well, you think you're so good with your health care over there. How are things going for you? It's like,
it's like Twitter too. Yes.
And it's like, things are fucked up all over. You're, nobody's got it completely worked out, but
no. To each his own.
Yeah.
Discover your own ass.
Every station has its agenda, and
I know.
And it's like, well, fuck, what's actually happening? That's what I want to know. Can we give people instructions so they're not poisoning themselves because you gave them the wrong thing? Yeah, just use this fish shit. And it's like, what? No. Meanwhile, trying to keep kids from licking toilets while we're
oh my God, that thing. Well, look at my nephew. My nephew went to spring break.
Yeah.
And then he goes back up to college, upstate New York, and he's like, yeah, Mom, I'm gonna come home. It's like, oh no, you stay up there, and then you get tested, and then you wait till this is all over because you're not gonna come back down here.
Yeah.
These kids, it's like, oh, what are you kidding me?
Yeah, what are you, an idiot? It's like it's not about you; it's about everybody else.
Yeah.
And even if it, is just about you, well, you don't want to get sick either, because there are kids who are your age that are getting sick and are dying, and that's not so great for them or their parents or anybody else. It's like have some goddamn sense. You know, my son's going stir crazy here because he's an outdoor guy. He would go and do shit, and it's like, no, you're not. His spring break was in our house, and the only exercise he was getting was walking around inside the house or doing calisthenics while his mom's yelling at him or whatever. It's like, here's what we're doing. We're lucky that we've got a decent sized house, so we've got room to run around. It's like, go up and down the stairs. It's like, oh, there's fucking 4 flights here. So.
Yeah. Well, man, Nile. We've had Mr. Larsen on for an hour and a half.
I know.
All right.
And this has been, it's been a wonderful show. We hope you'd come back, especially for issue number 2.
I have a very important question, Billy. Though.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nile. Yeah.
Very important question. And we were trying to figure this out. What is the actual day? The actual day Image became a company?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because we were like, oh, we should try to see if we can get a couple of the guys on and do an anniversary episode or something like that.
Jim Valentino is the guy who gives a shit and actually keeps track.
So he may know.
We'll get Jim on.
He may know. He'll be like, oh, this is the anniversary of the time we went to a meeting at Mark's Malibu place on the beach. At the time, he was living on the beach at the time, and we just took a meeting at his place, which is awesome,
Yeah. Well, if I can ask, and we won't keep you on much longer, but what was it like when you got the approach? Was it Rob who approached you? Said, "Hey, man, listen, we're not getting."
We went out to Rob, Jim Valentino. Went out to dinner with Dave Ulbrich.
Okay.
From Malibu Comics.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rob asked Dave Ulbrich, hey, would you publish a comic by me? And Dave was like, sure, I'd publish a comic by you. I'd publish a comic by any of you guys. And so Rob really wanted the experiment. He wanted to see, would the people who are over here follow me over there?
Mm-hmm.
So he was going to do a one-shot comic or something just to do it, regardless of the Image Comics idea. It came kind of from Rob, where he wanted to do something, and so he took out an ad in the Comics Buyer's Guide that was for the Executioners. So it had a big X in it. And, meanwhile, he's doing X-Force. So,
yeah.
I didn't say he was the sharpest knife in the drawer. But Marvel lost their shit. They were just like, we're going to sue you. We're going to put, we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So they really lost their minds and they were calling him up and reaming him out about it. And at that point, there's blood in the water,
Yeah.
We kind of go, oh shit, these guys are scared shitless that this could happen and this audience could go with them. And what would happen here if this went on? Mm-hmm. So that's how it got going, was the 3 of us kind of in, and I'd always talk with Rob. And Rob would always talk with Todd and stuff like that. So it just kind of got going. And then when we talked to Todd, was the next guy. And it was like, oh, why didn't you guys let me know this was going on? God dang it. I'm in. And so once you got Todd on there, then Todd is just, anybody. He's just like, oh, we got to get Jim Lee because he's Marvel's golden boy, right? So that was he was headhunting him, right. And then it was, you go to that convention where he recruited Jim Lee and got Jim Lee on board, and then it was, Mark Silvestri was there too,
yeah,
and then he knew Will Spartaccio, so they just became, all right, we're all in, let's do this, and then it just came from there. And then just Malibu existed as a company prior to us, and we could just they could just guide us through that whole process. Wow. And then once we've done that for a year, and we kind of like, I'm talking to the printer now. I'm dealing with colorists now. I'm dealing with letterers. I'm dealing with all the pieces that have to go together to be a comic book. It just became, why are we giving 10% and $5,000 a book to Malibu? You know, we can do this on our own.
Right.
And then away we went.
Oh wow.
Well, I want to thank you for that too, and plus all the other creator-owned books that you guys have supported and gave a platform to and made stars. You know, I mean, it just says not only as a fan of your work from just your long history of work, but just you as a person. I mean, you really are. You're a wonderful person. You know, everyone's talking about you. You know, we see you at the conventions, and I mean, let's be honest. You guys get very bombarded too, and you got to smile for everyone. You engage everybody, and it's really refreshing. It's great.
Well,
and thank you.
I clearly love the shit out of this stuff.
Yes.
And that's kind of what it's been about, is sharing the love, and hoping that can be I So,
and we really appreciate you coming on to talk to us. It's been great.
We keep dying on us. I don't know why I keep getting the spinning wheel here. So it's like the world is letting us know, like, come on, you guys, it's dinner time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Eric.
Well, thanks again, Eric. I hope you would come on again in the future to talk with us. It was great talking with you, and it's been fantastic.
This guy was in Battlestar Galactica from the sound of it.
Yeah, I know it does that. It's starting to reverb and everything like that.
Yeah. But you know what's happening? What's happening is, because so many people are quarantined right now, all the streaming stuff is like going haywire. I was doing some research, and I think that's why you might have had an issue with Chrome in this, because they actually, while we were on the air, a post came up. Another one actually just came up saying that there's been kind of like an outage with the streaming stuff. So it is actually pretty interesting. Like even Netflix, Hulu, they're having outages. People that do streaming like us are having outages because now we're just having extra time. We're doing more shows, you know. But it's been pretty fun. And again, man, thank you so much for coming on. And we really appreciate it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sure, we can do this again sometime.
Excellent.
I've got all the time in the world, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we look forward to 250.
All right. I do too.
Thank you so much,
I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
All right.
All right, everyone, have a great night. We will see you all tomorrow night again for our last show of the week at 9 p.m. We're just going to do a little crowdfunding comics mixer. We're just going to, grab a drink, have a cocktail. We're talking about a few things. We also do have some charitable things going on, something that actually Debbie TUCCI is doing to help the nurses out there, the doctors out there that are just killing themselves, trying to keep everyone safe and really doing everything they can, especially in the New York tri-state area. So she's going to be on the show tomorrow night talking about what her and her company are doing to help ease and give back to them.
Yeah, and if you guys wouldn't mind coming on for that, it's a lot of our friends are nurses, doctor friends we have too, and they're just they're killing themselves. They're Green Berets on the front lines now, and we'll have Chuck Dixon will be joining us and Martina Marcota too. And maybe one or two secret guests too. So we hope you guys join us. And remember, if you guys see your first responders, you see your paramedics, your EMTs, your nurses, your doctors. Not that you should be at 7-Eleven, but if you do have to go and you see them, buy them their cup of coffee or their orange juice or whatever they're getting. So thank you guys, Eric. Thanks a million, Nile.
All right.
As always, everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night. Eric, don't work too hard, but keep working hard because we need those books when the time comes. All right, Mr. Tucci, I'll talk to you later.
Tally
have a great night.
Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.